Hi, this is another episode of the Critical Introvert Show. I'm your host, Senor Filth. I'm accompanied by Benevolent Asshole, and today we're joined by caricature artist Steve Rampton. If you want to introduce yourself.
As he said, my name's Steve Rampton. I live in Southern California, and I draw caricatures and illustrations for a living.
I've been kind of noticing a pattern, like within inviting artists to the show, and it seems like caricature artists are usually the most open to be on to talk about this stuff. Like, do you think that's just a coincidence, or is it just within the fabric of being like a caricature artist?
Well, I think to be a caricature artist, you have to, a lot of times people will come to you and request political cartoons. So you kind of have to know what's going on. And if you
Hmm.
know what's going on, you're going to inevitably have an opinion. So I think maybe that's part of it.
Hmm.
I mean, for my own work, I do get, political requests now and then, but it's a very low percentage of my client business, but it is there, and
Hmm.
and I'm willing to talk about it too.
Hmm.
So yeah, maybe that's it. I don't know. I mean, you kind of have to know what's going on, and
Is there
it's
something?
it's fun to make fun of these people, frankly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is there something about just how you can sort of look into the details of things that helps you like understand at least part of what's going on in the world, I guess, or anything like that?
Well, I'm not sure if that's. I mean, I'm not sure if that's what it was for me.
Hmm.
Maybe somebody else is different. I mean, I've been interested in politics since I was like years old, and I've been reading economics books and political books, and I've been following it for a long, long time. And
Hmm.
I didn't mention this to you before. I had a job actually right out of college where I sold an environmentally friendly product to state and local governments, and
Mm.
that's kind of where I got my real first taste of like how the system really works. And I didn't like it so much.
Mm. Was there anything specifically that you saw that was kind of slimy about that world from then,
Oh,
or?
everything. I mean, I could tell you a bunch of stories. I had I lived in New Jersey at the time, and the state capital's in Trenton.
Hmm.
And if you're, our main product was for asphalt and concrete. And if you're doing anything with paving, you have to go to the government because they do the roads and.
Yeah.
Um, so I was in a meeting in Trenton, and my contact just flat out asked me what family I worked with. And
Wow.
me at this point, I'm like a 23, 24-year-old kid. I don't know what he's talking about.
Hmm.
And then it dawned on me, oh, he's asking which, mafia family am I with? And I said, oh
Yeah.
no, I'm not affiliated. And he said, oh yeah, we can't do anything. So I thought, man, this is kind of messed up.
Wow.
So that's actually one of the reasons I moved to California was for my old job, because I knew I wasn't going to get anything done in
Hmm.
New York, New Jersey, that area.
Did you notice anything specifically weird about people that worked in politics? Is I've been kind of noticing I have people in my family that work into it, and it's become a point where you kind of notice like a culty hive mind with them. Like, did you notice that when you worked within that?
Well, I didn't really know a whole lot of politicians. I did know
Hmm.
a lot of bureaucrats and a lot of people who just, shuffled papers around.
Hmm.
And, a lot of them were very nice people, and I'm not going to say anything, bad about the contacts that I made if they were nice people.
Hmm.
But I did notice that uh, if they were more left leaning, they kind of got into it to protect the little man from the corporations. And
Yeah.
if they were more right leaning, they got into it to try to save the taxpayers money.
Yeah.
And if either one of those two, kept to their ideals, they didn't last very long. They would quit within a couple of months.
Hmm.
So a lot of people just, I wouldn't say they got corrupted, but they just were like, all right, this is what it is, and I'm just going to put my head down and do my job, and I'm not really going to make a difference. Those are the people that lasted. And I will tell you, the product that I was selling was a new product, and they were incentivized to not rock the boat, because if they tried it and it worked, great, they get a pat on the back. If they tried it and it didn't work, that was one of the few ways that they could get fired or, you know, suspended or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's an inherent stagnation to government work that I think a lot of people aren't really necessarily aware of, unless you've been in that world.
Hmm. Yeah, it seems like more and more people are maybe waking up to the idea that like the state or whatever isn't going to save them, or isn't supposed to save them, or even can save them.
Yeah.
And you know, for me, I was always sort of skeptical of even thinking that way, and to see like within this last year, like my suspicions kind of be confirmed, it's kind of wild. Especially in LA, people have this like politicians are our saviors kind of mentality, and
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from.
I don't either. I mean, if you read history, you should know better than to trust the state. I don't, you know.
Hmm. I guess we can go more now into just censorship in general, because I do really think that's like the big topic right now that um, I don't know, can really stifle just civil discourse and throughout the country. And, I don't know, within like things that like dealing with big tech censorship and stuff like that. I do worry about that. Um, like if we look right here, where is it? There's a lot of like big tech censorship going on right now, and there's even like the way that things are being defined now is really sketchy. I mean, where do you guys think that like this may lead up to, or is there any way to fight this?
That's like a loaded question.
I guess
Well,
like
it-
where do
yeah.
we start now? I guess
Well,
where
well,
let's just
it
start.
seems that it's very calculated. And if you go back to the last election that we had in November, I don't know how many other people noticed it, but I guess it depends. Like if you're actually trying to be somewhat informed or like follow certain people. But prior to the election, about 2 weeks before the election, there's like a calculated purge on a
Mhm.
lot of like right wing, or not even right wing, but people, anybody that starts to question the narrative. Those are the kind of people that either get censored or they get labeled right wing. They don't necessarily have to be right wing. This is
Mhm.
that if they're trying to get down to the truth, those are the people that get censored. So like 2 weeks prior to the November election, is like there's like about very calculated
Mhm.
purge on a lot of these accounts that were trying to, they're showing proof of election fraud, and also um, proof of the Hunter laptop. They're showing a
Yeah.
lot of proof about the Hunter laptop. So a lot of those accounts all at the same time. It was, so it's kind of hard to stop that when it all happens very calculated and all at once. It's almost like it just, and it's very effective, because then a lot of people that could have seen some of this proof that they were putting out, they could have like maybe second thought and made a different choice in terms like in terms of voting and who they were going to vote for. And
Yeah.
so I'm just glad that Trump is doing the class action lawsuit. I don't know where that's going to go, but I hope it actually makes an impact. So that's the only thing I can think of. That's like
Mhm.
what makes me optimistic about the whole big tech censorship, especially
Mhm.
with Jen Psaki admitting that
Yeah.
this is something that I've been talking about for like over 4 years ago. Like when I was
Yeah.
on Facebook about 4 years ago, I was telling people the government, like there's somebody, they're in contact with big tech and they're censoring people even back then, like 4 years ago. And like everybody's all your conspiracy
Mhm.
theories, but now they're actually admitting it. Like Jen Psaki, the press secretary, is admitting it
Mhm.
live on on YouTube and saying, okay, we're actually in contact with big tech, and we're telling them like they're arbitrarily labeling what they consider misinformation. That could be anything. They're not,
Yeah.
if they would at least classify, oh, you can't, these are some of the things that you can't talk about, but they're not defining what misinformation is. It's very
Mhm.
arbitrary, and it can be anything, whatever it is that they don't like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of touching on your point, I mean, as far as it being organized, I mean, if you remember when all the big tech platforms kind of depersoned Alex Jones all on
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
day. I mean,
Mhm.
regardless of your thoughts on Alex Jones,
Yeah.
it's a little weird that it all happened on the same day. But
Mhm.
Mhm.
if it was a coincidence, which I don't think it was,
No,
because I'm
no.
sure these people talk to each
Mhm.
other.
Mhm.
And then also too, like you know, using Alex Jones as the first one, you can say, oh, he's just a wacko
Like,
conspiracy
yeah.
theorist.
Yeah.
And I remember those some people saying, well, he's not going to be the last one, and he's just the first one. And I mean, those people that were saying that turned out to be right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, it's a huge problem. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I don't trust. There's some pushes for the government to step in and make it a public good or whatever. I don't really trust that because
Mhm.
again, who's going to decide?
Yeah.
So whether it's Facebook deciding it or the U.S. government deciding it, I mean, it's a problem. And um, one other interesting point that I wanted to make was, I for a while I talked to people a lot on Facebook about political issues, and then I didn't for a long, long time.
Mhm.
But then after this last year, I said, I need to have an outlet, and I need to talk to people, and I need to see if anyone is seeing what I'm seeing. So I got a little bit active again, and I mean, I had several people contact me and say, hey, did you delete my comment? I said, no, I don't delete anyone's comments.
Mhm.
Whether you're left wing, right wing,
Hmm.
libertarian, whatever you are, I don't care. It's like
Yeah.
I don't want to censor you because I'd be a hypocrite.
Yeah.
And various people on my page were saying, hey, my comment got taken down. I said, well, that's Facebook doing it. That's not me. Um, and I find it funny too that a lot of people were saying, oh, it's I would consider myself to be more libertarian than either left or right.
Mhm.
But I did see a lot of libertarians saying, oh, well, it's a private company, they can do what they want. And I'm sympathetic to that argument, but that's a hard argument to make when the government is literally
Mhm.
contacting you saying, hey, here's what we have a problem with, get rid of it if you know it's good for you.
Yeah.
I think that blurs the
Yeah.
line between private company and you know public good, what however you want to put it. So
Yeah.
I get where that concept is coming from. I just don't agree with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
As far
think,
as what to do with it, sorry, I was going to say, I like a lot of the alternatives, like your BitChutes, your Minds, your
Yeah.
Locals. I think
yeah.
those are the way to go. More creator friendly platforms. And then if they're on the blockchain, even better.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think to kind of like top off from like what you're saying is, what was I gonna say? I think it's okay to disagree, but I think with censorship, it's people are not going to be informed to the
Sure.
fullest that they can. So I think as long as people can be informed, people can disagree. But like when people are misinformed or
Mhm.
not informed enough, then I don't see like how that's gonna work. Like people need to at least be informed, that way they can, okay, if they disagree, that's like a genuine disagreement instead of
Mhm.
just trying to manipulate people.
Yeah.
Mm.
I also think it's going to kind of lead to like a dumbing of the culture. Because people are not going to be like as hungry to like want to do their own research. It's going to become this thing where like people are just going to be force fed information rather than like just
It's funny because like it's made me like even more hungry. Like I don't really care
Mhm.
about politics, but like especially like 4 years ago where they they banned Alex Jones. I think that was one of those things that
Mhm.
like turning points were like, okay, I don't agree with like a lot of stuff that Alex Jones is saying. He's kind of crazy, but
Yeah.
I mean, he's actually been right on a lot of the things he's actually said. Like, I mean, looking in hindsight, a lot of the
Mhm.
things he was saying, a lot of it's sort of like coming, yeah, it's coming true.
Yeah.
And I knew that that was like the beginning, like the beginning domino to like knock everybody else down. Is like I don't understand like how people can't see. It's like if they can take somebody else out, even if you disagree with them, they
Yeah.
can do the same thing to you. Whatever it is that they can do to somebody else, they will do that to you like in an instant without thinking
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, it was disturbing. I think it was on Bill Maher's show, like the week it happened when they purged Alex Jones. Like he brought it up, and like literally like the whole crowd like cheered and shit like that. And
Yeah, so tribal, so
yeah,
tribal.
yeah,
It takes me
yeah.
back to like, are we like in the Roman ages or I don't the
Did Bill
Colosseum?
Maher,
Hmm?
sorry, did Bill Maher say anything when they cheered? Did,
I think he kind of like snapped at the audience, like don't do that. But it was
no,
one of those things where like it was sort of beyond him, like the
gotcha.
audience and even the panelists were even like giddy about it. And,
Yeah.
I don't even think he has like a real audience. I think the he has like one of those just audio boxes that just has people laugh at like everything he says because he's always contradicting himself. Like a lot of the stuff he was saying
Mhm.
about COVID in the very beginning, like all that stuff he was saying about like do this and do that, and like I think like a year later I'd have to find like the video, but like he started
Mhm.
saying the opposite of that, and then everybody was cheering. It's like what the, like you were
Yeah.
saying like he was. I don't understand. Like, why are you laughing? Like he's making idiots of you guys. Like you guys were initially cheering for him when he was saying all this stuff. Now he's saying the opposite of what he was saying,
Hmm.
and the hell is like,
Yeah, I think he's even been like you know uh, going back at the left, like for things like defund the police and how stupid an idea
yeah,
that
yeah. He's
was.
like he's walking back now that yeah, like
Uh, but
yeah,
I mean, you could make the argument that he sort of like helped create the culture that it's become. But I think as far as like the mainstream general left, I think he's like one of the very few people that needs to like speak out to essentially save the left from itself because they're going way too radical, and I don't think they even realize it.
yeah.
Um, you
Well,
know,
yeah. He actually like, he's kind of like objective, but he's not, and he's just flip flops. He's going back and forth. He hasn't. He doesn't have any. He doesn't have values.
yeah. I mean, I've always respected him because he's always been like one of the few mainstream guys to like, you know, criticize Islam, on fair points. But beyond that, he kind of, I don't know, he's a little
Yeah.
wishy washy on
Exactly.
things,
I was gonna
and
say I was gonna use the same word, wishy-washy. He'll say some edgy things. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like it seems like you're saying something defiant, like really questioning something. But then he starts like he backtracks on certain things. I'm like, the hell is like
Mhm.
grow a spine.
Well, I'm sure it's tough, and
Yeah.
I don't know Bill Maher personally at all, and I don't know what his business model is, but it's got to be you got to be kind of in a tough position if you are in a mainstream position like that.
Mhm.
As far as your um, sponsors or your if you have handlers. I mean, I don't know.
Mhm.
So I'm willing to give people like that the benefit of the doubt. I mean,
Yeah.
and what you were saying about Alex Jones earlier, like some of the stuff he said was right, some was crazy. I mean, it's
Mhm.
just whether you're Alex Jones or Bill Maher or whoever, or you two or me,
Mhm.
we're sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong,
Mhm.
and how are we going to know what's right and wrong if certain opinions are immediately stomped out?
Mhm.
We have to some ideas people put forth are going to be crazy and terrible, and some of them are going to be good, and we're
Mhm.
not going to know what's what until we kind of kick the tires a little bit, if
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
Yeah, we should have
um
like the freedom of speculation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I remember, I don't know, like 10 years ago, like the internet was just a cool place to just go into like any kind of conspiracy
Yeah.
that you chose to, like want to be
Yeah.
aliens or whatever the
Yeah.
fuck. But now it's like I worry that like this might lead to like the death of the internet in within certain, you know.
Yeah, well, they took
Yeah.
down recently talking about like cool videos about conspiracies. Like recently, they took down Jay Myers. I don't know if you ever checked out Jay Myers documentaries.
No, I don't think so.
Those were like really good documentaries on like MK Ultra and like Hollywood and Disney and just all these conspiracy things. But it was they were like really well done. And I think he's on Patreon now. But it's kind of like a shame that people can't entertain. At least if anything, like it should. I mean, give it credit for like entertaining people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember like even hearing about like the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing like years ago, and it was even considered a conspiracy theory
That
back
was a
then.
conspiracy theory back then. Yeah.
And you know, I never like cared to like look into it because you know I just didn't have the time. But I never just assumed that something was crazy. You know, you always have to kind of look into things on your own. But it looks like there's this pushing to like intimidate people to like do their own research. It's very authoritarian in its nature. Yeah, it's how do you think like just general satire and comedy is gonna like? I think comedy is kind of the best weapon for this shit. I don't know, like, how do you feel as far as using comedy to like address these things?
Yeah, I think comedy is one of the most potent weapons that the hoi polloi have over the the rulers. I mean, the court jester has always been a thing. So yeah, I think comedy is very important, and I think a lot of these people are ridiculous. I mean, whether you like Trump or not, he's a ridiculous person. He's very funny. Biden is the same. I mean, he's funny in a different way.
Yeah.
I think these people should be mocked and they should be ridiculed. And if people see, hey, and again, it's people are people, and it's sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. And the problem I see is not with one specific person, one specific party. It's the fact that we kind of touched on this a little bit, is the fact that we want, we've abandoned all of our responsibilities and have given it to the state, and we're flabbergasted that things aren't going well. And it's like, what do you expect? It's like, how, it's too big, and one of my buddies on Facebook who I talk with a lot, he said to me, because he and I disagree on basically everything, but he's a good person. I like him, I like the guy. And I said, do you think I distrust the government for no reason? He said, well, no, I don't think that. I just think that you and I differ because I don't see a boogeyman behind every corner. And I think my response was something like, well, I wouldn't say I see a boogeyman around every corner. I would say I would see incompetence around every corner. And the problem is, if you have a market of ideas or of products, if somebody has a bad idea or a bad product, and people are free to kind of test it and see if they like it or not, and then test it against other things, they can choose which one's the best. With the government, this is what we're going to do, whether it works or not, we don't really care. And whether we hurt people or not, we don't really care. And I wouldn't say it's evil. It's more just, lazy, really. So yeah, you don't have to be evil for bad things to happen. It's just, there's plenty of incompetence and there's plenty of laziness, and there's plenty of, and like you were saying, the left has gone kind of crazy, and I would say an element of the right has gone kind of crazy too. And it's like, when the people in the middle, they got nowhere to go, so they kind of throw their hands up and they say, well, there's nothing for me here. And so and also too, it's like, all right, if I have an opinion that's different from what the Facebook censors say, I'm gonna get kicked off the internet. It's like, and then later, here's a good example, the lab leak theory. I'm not saying if it's right or wrong, but I'm saying it was a no-no up until recently. Like you would get kicked off of YouTube, kicked off whatever.
Mhm.
And now they're like, oh, well, it's okay. It's like, well, that shouldn't have been banned in the first place. Maybe
Yeah.
it's true, maybe it's not, but how are we going to know unless we test it out, unless we have, we have a scientific method for a reason. I mean,
Mhm.
let's use it.
Yeah.
So I get frustrated if you if you can tell. I just get frustrated with people being intellectually lazy, and
Mhm.
I mean, I see it everywhere.
Mhm.
So
Do you think, like you mentioned, like the people in the middle? I think for a lot of people, like your average person, like they don't understand like how to, I guess, approach the concept of like far left and far right, because I think they sort of, I think mainly they had like this internet boogeyman mentality where like far right, it just means like crazy people on some weird website, whatever.
sure.
But uh, like I try to tell them that it's more about like identifying like what specific ideas sort of separate like the normal from the crazy, so that like when you hear those ideas seep into like mainstream culture, you know that like, to maybe push back against it. um like do you get a sense that like average people are coming are sort of like coming more aware of like how to approach this stuff, or like is it just beyond them?
I mean, I'll take this one. I think I think politics, and I told you I've been I mean, not involved, but I've been interested in politics for a long, long time. I'm 40
Mhm.
years old now, but I've been reading about it since I was 11 years old with the George Bush, Bill Clinton campaign,
Yeah.
and and just a little bit about I have family on the left, I have family on the right,
Mhm.
friends too, friends on the right, friends on the left. I don't hate any of these people.
Yeah.
Um, but I think what's happened is as time has gone on, um, it's it's become a team sport rather
Mhm.
than an idea, rather than a conversation about ideas.
Mhm.
Because I know plenty of people that they just take their position based on what the Democratic Party's main line is or what the Republican Party stands for.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a good way to have an opinion. I mean, it's
Mhm.
Yeah.
and like for me, like I agree with the right on some things, I agree with the left on some things,
Mhm.
and I'll go with whoever I think has a better idea, and then if somebody else comes to me with an even better idea, I'll change my opinion based on new information. I think that's how we learn things, and that's how I mean, that's how we have a functioning society, which I don't think we could argue that we have that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
that's like a recurring theme that we have on the show is that yeah, it feels like it's like the Dodgers against the Giants. I'm like, hey, hold
yeah.
on, it's like the politics is in sports. Like this is affecting people's lives.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Uh,
And I've been noticing that like for quite some time, because whenever I remember, uh, like maybe 7, 8 years ago, like socialism became like kind of cool amongst like 20-year-old people, and it was weird like hearing them talk about it. It seemed like they were just going along with some fad that they just heard on whatever Facebook, whatever. And when I would just tell them like, "Do you even know what it is? Like, you're bashing capitalism. Like, do you know what capitalism is?" And I wasn't trying to be combative or anything. It was just more of like, why are you so infatuated with like this extreme idea, and like, why are you treating it so like fad wise? It was really bizarre to me.
like a very romantic idea. Just oh yeah,
Kinda, yeah,
socialism.
yeah. It's so dope
Free
or
stuff.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. It's kind of a fad, and I've had the capitalist versus socialist
Mhm.
debates before. I try not to anymore just because
Mhm.
it's extremely frustrating in that it's very hard to nail down definitions. And I think you
Yeah.
can't have an actual debate unless you have a definition. And I'm going to say, I mean, you take 10 people who say they're socialists and 10 people who say they're capitalists, and you're going to get 10 different answers on what it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so it's like, and then it ends up being, well, the capitalists will say, well, anything I like is capitalism, anything bad is socialism, and then vice versa for the socialist. And it's like, that's not a real debate. That's just a pissing contest.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very tough to nail down, and you know, a lot of people don't understand what either one of them are. I mean, I you know, I was talking to another friend of mine who you know, is a Marxist, and I said, oh, what do you think of Mikhail Bakunin? And he's like, who? I'm like, you know, Karl Marx's #1 communist, you know, opponent. Never heard of the guy. So I'm like, how do I know more about your position than you do? It's like, you know, and not saying you have to know everything about everything, but it's like, if you're going to come to me and you know, preach a philosophy, at least know, at least Google or DuckDuckGo, whatever. You know, I'm not trying to, you know, but at least say, you know, I believe in X, so I'm going to look up X debunked, and at least read some of the you know, criticisms of whatever it is, even if it's something you like, especially if it's something you like. And I think a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah, it's amazing that you brought that up, because someone I grew up with, like, they turned into like a SJW feminist, and I tried to like have a conversation with them, and I just, because I was noticing like the things that they were posting, like post George Floyd was kind of extreme, and you know, using the word equity a lot and stuff like that. And you know, just from my own basic research, like equity is a word that a lot of like, you know, Marxists kind of tend to use. And I was even reading some of the stuff that she posted, and I was like, oh shit, this is kind of Marxist-y. Maybe she doesn't, like, why is she in? I just wanted to know like why this person was like just infatuated with these ideas, and like, you know, at least try to like get them to like maybe not view it so romantically. And I just like really early on in the conversation, I was like, do you know what Marxism is? And they had no idea what the hell it was.
Yeah.
They were trying to like deflect, and I was just like, well, I mean, patriarchy is like, the concept of the patriarchy is very similar to Marxism. They had no idea what the fuck I was talking about. And this is for someone who like majored in gender studies.
Yeah.
And I mean, how the hell did,
in other words, wasted their money in college.
Yeah.
I was tempted to even to say that to them, but the conversation went south so fast that I didn't want to burn that bridge even more.
No, I got you.
Yeah,
it's tough too, because you don't, you know, I really believe you shouldn't lose friends over political stuff.
Yeah,
I honestly believe that. You know, and you know who you can and can't talk to if you talk to them enough. You know, because like I said, I mean, there's, you know, I'll use him as an example again. I have one buddy that I knew from back east. I mean, he and I disagree on pretty much every single issue. But like I said, I like the guy. He's a nice person, and he's an interesting person. Yeah. And I even had to defend him recently because one of my other friends jumped in and said, "Oh, you're an idiot. You know, why does Steve like you, XYZ?" And I said, hey man, you know, you're out of line. Like, even though I agree with you politically, you're out of line, because this is my friend, and you know, you don't know this person. He's a good person, and you know, I even though I disagree with him, he has interesting opinions and he makes me think.
Yeah.
So, and I wish more people would have that opinion and be able to do that. But I see the divide getting bigger and bigger, and I don't know if what I'm saying to people is helping or not. I mean, kind of selfishly, it helps me just get it off my chest. But
yeah,
you know, I don't know. I think maybe if nothing else, it's nice to know that you're not alone in your thinking and your opinions, and you know, there's a lot of people that have the same concerns as you. You know, I think that's helpful.
Yeah, thanks for coming on here, because that's exactly the reason why. I don't know, like if for, at least for me, I don't know about Senor Filth, but for me, like, having these is really awesome, just because this will get uploaded on YouTube, and like other people will see, oh, there's like another caricature artist that also kind of like is not sort of like thinking, he's not thinking like a hive mind, he's thinking for himself. And yeah, like we had I'm glad to have you. And then we had I think Paul Ivanansi on here, and then we had Nate Kapnicki on here. And I hope not just caricature artists, but like other artists, so other
Yeah.
artists can see that it's not just like an echo chamber out there. There's people with a variety of different ideas and opinions
Oh
on
yeah.
things. Yeah.
Oh, I have people all the time assume, well, it's funny because if I can always tell if somebody's more right leaning or left leaning when they talk to me, if they've never talked to me politically before, because people on the right will assume I'm a lefty and people on the left assume I'm a right winger, always, without
Yeah,
fail. You know, and especially too, like, you know, I went to art school in New Jersey, which is the bluest state in the country. And you know, I went to art school, so people assumed that I'm, dyed in the wool Democrat. And I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know that I've ever voted for a Democrat. I don't think I have. I can't think of one. You know, but again, I don't vote on the party. I vote on the person, you know.
Mhm.
And if, you know, if somebody's a Democrat, but they have good ideas, then I'll vote for that person.
When you first started getting into this, like, did you know to like sort of like look into even definitions and stuff like that, or did you, or was it sort of like kind of influenced to you like from your family or anything like that? Because I'm getting a sense that when people are supposedly getting into politics, like especially younger kids, like I said, we like they're getting to it like much more trendy, like, and when you go into things like through like the trendy lens, I think you go in at it like with like a kind of a like a divisive intent, like a very like I'm on my side and fuck you on this side. Like, did you like notice? Did you like avoid that from the start, or did you maybe check yourself from even becoming that person really early on?
Yeah, I mean, I think I had a little bit of an advantage because I think I mentioned before, like my family is a pretty good mix politically. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we're not all right wingers or all left wingers or all libertarians or all socialists or anything. There's a pretty good mix.
Yeah.
So I've always grown up around all kinds of different ideas, and then like I said too, with my friendships, you know, I don't. Um, you know, if somebody has a different political opinion, that's fine. If I like you as a person, I don't really care if, you know, what you
Mm-hmm.
think about, you know, whatever political party. That doesn't matter to me if you're cool, if you're a cool person.
Yeah.
So so for me personally, I never got into it as like a middle finger to
Mm-hmm.
anybody.
Yeah.
It was more of I kind of want to know what's going on, because something's not sitting right with me.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when I was a kid, I didn't know the difference. I mean, you know, but as I got older and, you know, as I mentioned with my job, I said, man, this is something really stinks here. And, you know, this can't be how society's run. This is terrible. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's got to be a better way. And then I probably have a very cliche conversion story to libertarianism. It was the Ron Paul campaign.
Okay.
Uh, so, you know, it's that whole story. But I was nudged already in that direction because of the job that I had, and I said, man, this
Mm.
isn't right. And then he was saying a lot of things that made a lot of sense. So I kind of got into that, and you know, I that's when I kind of really got interested in it a lot more in, like, you know, if I was thinking if I'd never even heard of libertarianism before, like what else don't I know
Yeah.
about? Kind of thing, you know what I mean? And then with the internet, I think it's wonderful the tool that we have in the internet where you know, you can look up whatever you want, and you know, some people do use it for that, but then unfortunately some people use it for, you know, to make themselves dumber. You know, it's like
Yeah.
anything else. It's a tool. You can use it for good or for ill. You know, it's up to you.
Yeah.
And you know, I love it when people uh you know, I love it when people are interested in what's going on. I just wish people were more critical and don't just accept, you know, kind of really sit with something before you adopt it into
Yeah. Yeah.
your thinking. And like I said before, like look up, you know, if you're thinking, oh, maybe X is the way, look up X debunked, and
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
there might be a better argument on the other side, or there might not be.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think there's no loss to doing that. You're
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I remember early on, like you know, when I started like looking into, I just flat out just went straight to basics and just looked up definitions of things and
Yeah.
looked up like what traditional conservatism is, what classic liberalism is. Like it wasn't something that I thought was cool or anything like that. I didn't like learn
Oh,
it to
it's
like,
not cool. It's
yeah,
people who are into politics are total
it,
nerds.
yeah, it's dorky as hell.
Yeah.
Dorky as hell.
And
Yeah.
and that's why like I noticed like how it's becoming trendy. Like I hear people talk about it, and you could just tell that they're not dorky with it. It's like listening to someone who's like a fake Star Wars fan or something like that. Like they're oh, Star Wars is just it's lightsabers and this and blah blah blah. But it's like they're not talking about the story, the character design. Like they're not genuinely geeky about it. And
Yeah.
uh,
Oh, I agree with you. I think politics being mainstream is horrible.
mhm,
And not that people aren't allowed to have opinions, but it's like, I know what I don't know about, and I'm not going to comment on, for example, I'm not a huge sports guy, so I'm not gonna throw in my 2 cents on a trade that the Dodgers made. I have no idea. Like,
yeah.
my opinion on that is worth nothing.
Yeah.
So, I think people need to realize it's like, again, you're allowed to have an opinion, of course, but you know, kind of know where your opinion is ranked on how much you know about a topic.
Yeah. I think that also drives people to just solely use emotion and compassion, instead of like looking into like facts and reason. And like when I talk to people, like they're so compassionate about what they're trying to defend that
Yeah.
like they almost like go too far with it. And it's like they don't realize that like they're sort of kind of perpetuating a problem that they're supposed to be, trying to be to try to fight for. Like when, like I would say, well, like when I hear progressives talk about racism, like their obsession with it is, I would say, is in large part kind of contributing to the problem a lot more than helping out.
Yeah. Well,
I agree with
it's
that. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it seems like everybody is so righteous and so
Hmm.
everybody's like a social justice warrior until it comes to like actually thinking about the situation or being
Yeah.
put in an awkward or difficult situation where they have to answer like tough questions and like, no, well, racism is bad. And like, I know
Hmm.
racism is bad. Yeah, well, it's like, who wants to like be discriminated over the color of your skin? It's like nobody does. It's like that's something I think just about almost everybody can agree on.
Hmm.
So that's not the real question. The question is like are like in the details, like how
Yeah.
are we gonna like are we gonna let the government like exercise their will against us to like get rid of racism? Like, no, it's like that's something that we need to deal as individuals. That's something we just
Hmm.
need to grow up.
Yeah.
Because racism, that's like a made up word. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
it's like if I came up for a word for being short, like people don't like
Yeah.
me because I'm short. Like I don't know, like is there a word for that? It's like
There
people
probably
don't
is
like me.
now.
It's just it's no, it's just like a and that like a physical attribute. Same thing
Yeah.
with the color of your skin. That's just a physical attribute. It has nothing to do with like the way you think or anything. Like people don't
Hmm.
like you because of the color of your skin. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad. Even like it just means that no,
Yeah.
like preference. It's just like
Yeah.
people just have their own preference.
Yeah. I always thought like generally like if someone just like for some reason grew up like just not liking Asian people for example, and like they never did anything about it. They just don't like them. Like, is that so bad? Like, what's so wrong about that? Like, it's become a point where like people are so obsessed with the racism thing that like now they're going to like calling it anti-racism. It's like they're becoming weirdly obsessed with it, and they're just kind of making the problem worse. Um,
I got an example of that
mm,
for you guys. I don't know if it is exactly what we're talking about, but
Yeah.
as stated, I'm a caricature artist, and
mm,
I mean, I'll draw whoever, whatever race, whatever, men, women, children, old people, young people, whatever.
mm-hmm,
And I don't discriminate because you're black. I mean, that's absurd to me.
yeah.
But I have had somebody contact me on Instagram and tell me, as a white male, you should only be drawing other white males. And, I put this person in their place and I said, listen, unless you're paying my bills, leave me alone and don't talk to me. But it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, how absurd. And I'm sure he thought that he was doing some kind of social justice,
Mhm.
crusade, but it's like, dude, like, leave me alone. Like, you have a stupid opinion.
Mhm.
What did you think you were going to accomplish by saying this to me?
Yeah.
And it's like, and also too, it's like, what maybe he didn't realize is like, all right, you're telling me I can only draw white males, so you're telling me the races should be segregated? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I always thought that whole, what's it called, cultural appropriation just sounds like a new age version of like stick to your own kind.
Yeah.
For some people it is. Yeah, for some
Yeah.
people it is. I mean, and again, I think some of those people have some interesting arguments, but for some
Mhm.
people, yeah, it's just, I want to stick to my own kind, and I don't. It's an excuse for me. Like, I hate whatever race, and that's my excuse to do it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
disgusting, quite frankly.
The one thing that I noticed is that, like, after the whole George Floyd thing incident, is that there's like a trend in people, and actually there's been like it seems to me like there's been like a war too against like white males over like the last
Mhm.
4 years, and then especially the whole George Floyd thing like kind of like drove it even more.
Mhm.
And what do you think? This is for Steve. Like, what do you think about? Because I saw this a lot, and it really pissed me off. Like, I was going to say something to them, but I never said anything. I should have said something. I saw a lot of my white friends apologizing on behalf of the
Oh
race.
god.
I think that's like a terrible thing. Is like, or what do you like? How do you? It's like, what do you think about that? Like, when like that only makes the situation even worse. Like, when you haven't really done anything. Like, has nothing to do with you. Like, well, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I have zero white guilt, if that's what the question.
Yes.
The way I see it is it's an accident of your birth, what gender you are, what race you are, what how tall you are, like you were saying. It's a
Mhm.
complete accident of birth, and it's very stupid and very harmful to hate somebody for that, whether they're white, black, Latino, Asian, whatever. I mean, I think certain privileges do exist, but I don't think that white privilege is the only privilege. I think that there are different privileges for different races, and there's male privilege, and there's female privilege. I think everyone has different privileges, and I think just trying to get into I'm sorry to use this phrase twice in this meeting, but a pissing contest, I think it's kind of silly. And it's like, instead of that, instead of trying to figure out who's the most oppressed, I mean, let's really focus on what problems we have in our society, because
Mhm.
hey, we have some pretty big problems, and yes, racism is one of them. I will say that, but what we're doing seems to be making it worse, not better. So I think we need to change our strategy.
Mhm.
Hopefully that answered the question.
And what do you think that strategy should be?
I have no idea. I have no clue.
Mhm.
I mean, I'll say exposure to other races.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Good thing. It's
exactly.
hard to hate somebody if you know people that are different race than you. I think that's a good thing. Exposure to their culture, exposure to just people who think differently, who look different. So yeah, I think that's it. I think it's exposure. I think we're going exactly the wrong direction, because I was reading about how, I can't remember which school it was, but one of the Ivy Leagues, they were going to have like segregated graduations. I'm like, what? Are we
Uh,
back in Jim Crow? Like, what is this? Like, are we going to have separate drinking fountains next?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
it's exactly the wrong direction.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we talked about that too. I think definitely exposure and experience with like other races, and just being able to like, yeah, integrate, like more integration instead of segregation. Like,
Absolutely.
it's just, and I think because a lot of these college students, like, they're talking out of their ass, and a lot of it, it's like you can only get so much information from your professors
Mhm.
and reading books. You actually have to go out there and work with people of like from different cultures, different uh colors of skin.
Mhm.
It sounds so stupid.
Mhm.
It's none of it like doesn't make any sense. It's just like work with people from different backgrounds. I think that's because any job that you go into, you're gonna have to work with people, and I think people are going backwards, and they don't know how to treat each other. They don't know how to interact with each other anymore. Everybody is in their own sort of bubble,
Do you-
and they have their own preconceived notion of what it is to be human or like a certain race. I'm like, no, it's just go out there and experience life and see what it's like to actually live with X and or Y.
do you think it's a like a conditioning thing that like people like now approach like the
Well,
topic of racism
yeah.
so
Like
obsessively?
let me give you like an example. Like not too long ago, like is everybody is always associating certain words or certain things to like, oh, you're racist or they're racist. Like the other, like not the other day, like maybe a couple weeks ago, I was drawing this little kid, and then I was talking to him, and I was like asking him, oh, so you play you play football, right? And then he's
Hmm.
talking about like his team is like his team name, and like, well, what's your team name? And he's like, it's the Gorillas, and it's a little black kid, and it's like the other like if I don't know, it's like it's for him. I don't think he's thinking like when his team came up with the name, they're not thinking, oh, this is racist or this is terrible. They're just thinking, oh,
Hmm.
a gorilla is a cool animal. Like I want to be like a gorilla.
Yeah,
Kind of like they're thinking about it in that way. But then like we as adults perverted, like, oh yeah, gorilla is an ugly animal. No, it's like it's whatever you want it to be.
yeah.
Like, and that's where like we're yeah, we've gone the wrong world. Like kids are like a lot more innocent than we are. We perverted everything
Yeah,
into something that it's not.
yeah. I guess it kind of goes with the it just popped in my head like the was it the Cleveland Indians just recently
Yeah, what are the Guardians now? The Guardians of the
Guardians,
Galaxy.
yeah.
yeah.
What the heck is that? And that's the other thing too. It's like when I looked at the Indian like logo, I wasn't thinking, oh yeah, a stupid Indian. No, I was thinking
Yeah,
that's a cool looking design. I thought it was
yeah.
like if I had a choice between like that and like another baseball team that didn't have like a logo, it was just like letters. I'm like, hell no, I
Yeah.
want to be the Indians. That's like
Yeah,
badass.
yeah.
Like you don't want to like just like some generic. You don't want to be like generic guardian. You want to be like an Indian. I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
People just perverse. Yeah, they just contaminate or they change the meaning of words. And that's like the other thing that I've noticed over like the last 4 years, or maybe it's been going on for like the longer, but it seems that they're manipulating language. And I think like a few years from now, we're not gonna recognize what like some of these were like some of the like patriot.
Hmm.
They've associated patriot with what's that one? Xenophobic. They
I have
attach
it.
that xenophobic, and then there's a bunch of other words I can't think of off the top of my head, but like they're manipulating language. So
Hmm.
everything that is good or positive, they're making it into something that it's not,
I think
and
even
almost rewriting history almost.
yeah. I think even the word racist has like the definition that has been sort of lost with some people. Like, at work,
Yeah. Well, yeah, like it used to be like, oh, I'm sorry, like
how you go
go
ahead.
ahead. Oh,
I was
because
just saying at work there was this guy. He's like a young guy. He's he sleeps around a lot, and he was telling me that he was with some like a Russian girl, and she has a thing for Hispanic guys, and he stopped himself, and he's just like, is what I'm talking about racist? Is she racist? And I was just like, what? I mean, she's technically complimenting
yeah,
Hispanic guys, so
yeah.
it was weird that like checked himself, like he policed himself
Well,
for that. It was odd.
yeah. Well, because it used to be something like used to mean something like racist used to be something like somebody actually
Hmm.
taking like a mob lynching somebody
Hmm.
like a group of like racist people gathering and like lynching like a black person that was racist, or like even just setting fire on their front yard or something like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
something extreme. Now it's just like I don't like
Now,
how he looked at me, he's racist. What
or
the-
just or Aunt Jemima's racist for
yeah, it's just
some
like
reason. I don't know.
it's a way to avoid discussion. It's like an ad hominem. It's just like a way to avoid instead of tackling the actual topic of discussion, you're
Hmm.
just insulting the other person. to just to and trying to win the argument just by like belittling the person. Just okay, you're an idiot. Ha 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 ha. And everybody forgets it. And everybody forgets. That's what they did with Donald Trump. Like everybody just forgot what they were talking about because everybody like, oh yeah, he looks like a Noompa Loompa. He looks like yeah.
Do you think it's a way to sort of like erase certain like racial cultures? Like, well, if you talk about the Indians changes to the Guardians, like 5 years from now, the Guardians are just going to be some team, and people are going to forget that they're the Indians. Like, so, like, even the logo of the Indians, like, I know a lot of people that like they do their own spin on it, they have fun with it, and it kind of brings like this interest into Indian culture, even in a little minor way. But since they're changed it to the Guardians, no one's gonna care anymore. It's gonna
Yeah.
kind of like erase that interest into any kind of Native American
Yeah,
shit.
well, that's what I love about caricature. It's not
Mhm,
necessarily trying to make fun of a person. It's
mhm.
more about like distinguishing the person like from one person to the next person.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, like some people actually try to insult people when they draw them, but not. It's not necessarily that. It's like just I don't. That's what I like about it. It's like everybody is so unique and like manipulating it just enough. So, and when I
Mhm.
see like the Indian, that's like a yeah, it's kind of like a distortion of like an Indian, but that's still unique from like
Yeah.
some like you couldn't come up with like I'm sure as racist as it's gonna sound, like I'm sure like if there wasn't like Native Indians that existed on in the United States, like maybe somebody wouldn't have gotten inspired to come up with
Yeah.
like a design like that. Like there's only like people that look um like I don't know, like white people, like then you would have never been able to come up with like a design that looked that cool.
Yeah.
It's I don't know, to me it's just like more an appreciation for diversity
Yeah.
and people look at it, oh yeah, you're different, so you're pointing out something that's different, so that's bad. No, that's just like I'm pointing out something that's
Mhm,
different. That doesn't necessarily mean it's bad.
mhm.
And like I brought up in the last episode, like people are usually attracted to their opposite.
Yeah.
Usually, I've noticed people are usually attracted to the opposite, like their skin color, or they're attracted to the opposite of their features, or they're the opposite of their height. Like
Mhm.
short girls love tall guys, and then like dark skinned guys like light skinned girls, and vice versa. Like
Yeah.
it's like yeah, it's like go like you like the opposite of what it is. So the whole concept of racism, I just never, I just don't get it. I
Yeah.
don't get it.
Well, that's for sure. My wife is a lovely short black woman, and I'm a tall white guy who looks like this. So definitely opposite.
See, opposites attract. I
Yeah,
just don't
yeah.
get. I don't get it.
And there you go too, talking about like being exposed to other cultures. I mean, I had to learn about like what she had to do with her hair, for example. You know,
Mhm.
so yeah, I mean, there's cultural differences, not anything better or worse, but yeah, I mean, and I think that and going back to what we were saying, I think that's how you fight racism is exposure and understanding and
Mhm,
the segregation nonsense and canceling stuff. That's not the way.
mhm. I, I I think it's like setting up like this weird like what do you call it, like unobtainable like purity test, like if you take like how long is it going to be until like Pocahontas the movie, the Disney movie, is going to be canceled
5 years.
for whatever reason, just cause like
5 years.
you think 5 years?
Yeah.
I, I
Yeah.
have no idea, but yeah,
It's coming,
it's
because
coming. I've already seen videos on YouTube just talking about how problematic it is, and
oh really?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean it's not historically accurate. I'll give you that.
Mm,
But I don't know.
Yeah.
That's one of those things too, and I've had this discussion, you know, with my wife. It's like I, you know, I don't know what kind of trials and tribulations you go through because of your skin color, and then there's certain things that you don't know about me. So it's like I'm not going to and it goes back to my whole kind of philosophy. It's like I'm not going to comment on things that I'm ignorant about.
mhm,
And
Mhm.
part of it is just people need to understand um where their own uh knowledge base, is less than ideal. And it's okay. It's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to say, let me figure it out. And I think that's another thing that we've lost, just in general, whether the topic is race or politics or whatever. It's okay to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I've noticed is that like some of these pseudo intellectuals, they think they know what's best for like Black people. Like, oh no, 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 like this is how you should be treated. You don't need to work. Like you should get a check. You should get a check for your like. It's like what? That's like so patronizing. Oh, you're not smart. It's almost like saying like you're not smart enough to get a job, or like you should do this instead of yeah, like it's almost like saying like just I don't know. It's just patronizing. I'll leave it at that. It's just instead of like treating somebody like a human, you're treating them like less than a human.
Yeah.
Well, I believe it was Malcolm X who warned his community against the white liberals.
Yeah.
For exactly that reason.
Yeah. I wonder if we can find a clip of Malcolm X.
Malcolm X. Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Let's see if I can find it. Crap. So I'm noticing like a lot of people, like especially SJWs, are like they're having an infatuation with Malcolm X, but like I don't have the heart to tell them like he would probably not like you.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
It's a white liberal.
7 minutes.
See, and that's the thing. Like we're so like everybody is so unique from one another. Like even like somebody trying to come up with like or impersonate like his voice, that may come off as being racist if you're not Black.
Yeah.
But it's not even. People are always going in the wrong direction. That doesn't like it doesn't necessarily mean like if you're making fun of somebody, it's not even so much like you're making you like it's more. It's flattering because you think you're like he has a cool voice. You're like, oh yeah, like so a lot of times when people are imitating something else is because they find it unique. You're like, oh, he has a unique voice, so I'm gonna like imitate it. It's not has nothing to do because you're racist. It's just like a cool sounding voice. But
yeah, I think it depends on your intent. I mean, if like I don't know if you've come across this with your caricature art, but I think there's definitely a difference between, the old cartoons with the, the Mammy, which was a racist depiction, versus just drawing a silly picture of somebody who's a different race. I think it's down to your intent. If you're trying to insult them because of their race, then it's racist. If you're not, then I think you have to take judge something by the intent. A good example of this, if you guys have seen Tropic Thunder, remember, Robert Downey Jr. was in blackface in that movie. And it's like, okay, why is he able to get away with it? And the whole thing, it's like, if that's your attitude, you don't get the point. The point is it's ridiculous. Find a Black actor, they put this guy in blackface. Like it's making fun of that. It's like that's why it's not racist. Whereas Justin Trudeau wearing blackface is racist. Or was it the mayor, or not the mayor, the governor of Virginia, wearing black. It's like, come on. Like,
I think with like any race, I think something genuine has to come through in the caricature. And I think a lot of the Trump caricatures, you can see that people are projecting their own hatred onto him. And I'm not saying that he's off limits. Like you should be able to make fun of him because he's like a funny looking guy. But like you can tell like when somebody is just like really honing in and trying to feel like they're really trying to draw his personality instead of just like try to insult him. Like you can insult him, but like make it genuine so it feels like him. And a lot of people like miss it because they're like they're projecting their own hatred onto the caricature instead of like making it him, making a genuine Trump caricature.
I'm curious, like how there's those like this Halloween mask of presidents, like they have the Nixon one with the big exaggerated nose and shit like that. Like if Kamala Harris becomes president, like how would that look? Because I think they would really get like super strict on like how offensive they can get. I think, I don't know.
You probably get arrested.
Yeah.
That's scary, man. Like,
I mean, I'll be honest with you
arrested.
guys. If you're wearing a political Halloween costume, you're not doing Halloween right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's not answering your question, but
I got you.
unless you're trying to make people mad, I don't think you should be wearing a.
Yeah, it's kind
that's
of
just my
boring.
opinion.
Let's give a listen to Malcolm X real quick.
White liberals who have posed as our friends, white liberals who have been eager to point out what the white man in the South has been doing to us, while they themselves here in the North are doing the same thing. They have been making a great fuss over the South, only to blind us to what is happening here in the North. And now that the eyes of America's 20 million blacks can easily see that this white fox here in the North is even more cruel and vicious than the white wolf in the South. The Southern wolves always let you know where you stand. But these Northern foxes pose as white liberals. They pose as your friend, pose as your benefactor, pose as your employer. They pose as your landlord. They pose as the neighborhood merchant. They pose as your lawyer trying to help you. They infiltrate all your organizations, and in this manner, by joining you, they strangle your militant efforts toward freedom, toward justice, and toward equality. They use integration for infiltration. Throughout America, here in the North as well as the South, masses of black people are demonstrating against the oppression and exploitation of the white man. Our people have lost all fear of the white man. They have ceased trying to waste their love on the white man. And they have ceased turning their nonviolent cheek to the violent white man. And because of this new, fearless, more militant attitude on the part of our people, we see the increase of violence and bloodshed between the white oppressor and the oppressed, between the white exploiter and the exploited, between the white slave master and his 20 million ex-slaves. And where will all of this end?
Yeah.
I have a crazy radical idea.
What's up?
Treat everyone you meet with respect, regardless of their gender or race. That's how you stop racism. Don't treat them. Don't think that you're better because you're a different race, and also don't think of them as your pet project to help or whatever. Treat them like human beings deserving of respect. That's how I mean, I see nothing wrong with that kind of idea.
So CRT is not working. Critical race theory is not working.
Not working.
I know.
Yeah. I remember.
I mean, telling little kids that they're evil because of something that somebody did hundreds of years ago that's evil to me.
Yeah.
Making a little kid feel bad because of the color of their skin. What are you doing?
It's traumatizing.
It's traumatizing. It's absurd and it's disgusting, quite frankly.
How do you think we, like general people, like should fight back against like critical race theory and being taught on their kids? Do you think it's avoidable as far as like winning back the public schools, or is it just taking your kids out of schools in general and like homeschooling or whatever? Because I have no idea. I'm not sure where it's going to lead up to. Is it it's easily marketable to like, I think for the normal person, like, oh, critical race theory, it's helping racism, but it's hard to try to convince them that it's just generally not a good idea, that it does the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. And again, this goes back to the entire conversation. It is possible to, have somebody and see the differences and be interested in them.
Mhm.
And still respect that person and treat them as your equal, as a human being. I think that's the way to go. And once again, I think we're in a lot of ways we're going the wrong direction.
Mhm. I mean, do you have kids, Steve?
No kids. I mean, my wife and I are talking about it, but we don't have any yet. But yeah, I mean, you know, if we do have kids, they're going to be biracial kids, and that's a whole other kind of you know, situation. And you know, my wife and I talked about it, and you know, we want them to, you know, like I'm saying, treat everybody with respect, but also we want them to have you know, a fascination and a knowledge of their history, like, you know, where you know, my side is, you know, generally, you know, European, and then my wife is a Creole woman, so that's there's a lot of history there too. And it's like, you know, learn about it, and I mean, it's fascinating, and it doesn't make you better than anybody, it doesn't make you worse than anybody. And by the way, like, just talking about race in general, like, and I think a lot of SJWs fall into this trap where it's like you see people not as an individual person, but as part of a group.
Yeah.
And for me, like, okay, I'm a white male. Those two things are the least interesting things about me. You know, if you can figure that out by looking at me, done. Okay. Now, who are you as a person? To me, that's way more interesting.
Yeah. But I mean, has like the critical race theory being taught in schools, like, is that something you think about as far as like being a dad? Like, it's something I've been kind of thinking about ever since like this push for it. Like, how do people thinking about having kids, like, is that contributing to them maybe holding off on it, or I don't know.
I can only speak for myself. I don't know if people are doing that or not. You know, to be honest, I haven't thought about it a whole lot, just because if we do have a kid, it's at least 6 years away before they would start school.
Yeah.
And by that time, I mean, who knows? You know, we might decide.
Uh-oh. Did you get cut off?
I think so. Like he's paused at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might have lost like connection. Oh no.
Oh no.
Still there?
Oh.
You got,
he's
okay.
okay. He's back.
Yeah, you got cut off.
Oh, you lost me for a sec?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry
about that.
If you want to repeat what you said, or if you remember it.
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying it's a couple of years off if we do have kids. So you know, I haven't thought about it too much. That's all I was saying. I mean, for society in general, I mean, and again too, this is one of those areas where I know a little bit about it. I don't feel as though I know enough to make a extremely smart comment about it, but
Yeah.
based on what I've seen, it's not looking so hot, but definitely want to look into it a little bit more. And you know, anything that like I said, anything that teaches kids bad because of their skin color, regardless of what it is not okay.
Yeah. Have you ever watched like any critical race theory like lessons or anything like that?
I haven't, no.
They're just bizarre. God, I gotta find one. There's one with the teacher. Here it is. This is a teacher.
So then,
and it's just like, I wonder if the people that put this stuff out there like know that they're doing it, or do they even care? I don't know, but it's just.
So then, what is white privilege? White privilege is when people who are white have additional benefits, advantages, and fewer barriers to overcome than people of color. People of color are folks with black or brown skin, or of a specific race or ethnicity. That doesn't mean that if you're white you aren't talented or smart or your life is easy. It means that you have extra privileges just because of the color of your skin. Really? Yes, really. So, what are some of those advantages? Sometimes they're small, and sometimes they're really big. Like the privilege of always seeing people who look like you in books and movies. That might seem like no big deal, but imagine if no one looked like you in your favorite movie. Wouldn't that make you feel left out or sad? Or it can be in the people who are usually in charge, like teachers, your parents' boss, and presidents. Those people are usually white. This is probably something you've never really thought about. That's okay. But don't you often wonder why those people are often white and not another color? White privilege could also be in things you don't have to worry about, that people of color do. Like feeling unsafe when you walk past a police officer. Having people assume you're bad at something because of your skin color. Easily finding a Band-Aid that matches your skin tone. Or people always asking you where you're really from. These are just some of the ways that white privilege can show up without anybody noticing. In fact, part of having white privilege can mean that you don't even know you have it. The thing about white privilege is that you don't have to think about being white. This was also true of me. As a kid, I never thought about being white. I never thought that I had extra privileges. But because of my white privilege, strangers smiled at me when I walked down the street. I would get invited to more places and parties. I felt safe when out and about. I had more opportunities. People didn't look down on me. And I had a better shot at success. I had all these advantages even though I grew up without a dad, no money, and never really knew what tomorrow would look like.
As an artist, the most offensive thing to me is that there's no pictures in that book.
Yeah, just words.
It's
yeah.
words, you know. But no, I mean, but seriously, like, I mean, this is where I may, I mean, I don't know what you guys think. This is where we may disagree. I
Mhm,
do think that there is a such thing as white privilege.
mhm.
But I also think there's a such thing as black privileges and Latino privileges. I was kind of commenting on that before. I think every person has certain privileges and certain challenges too. All that being said, though, I don't know how old these kids are that she's teaching.
Mhm.
I don't know why you're trying to divide these kids. You know, that's kind of my take on it. And it's
Mhm.
like, you know, it's something that should be discussed, but it's, you know, adults need to be talking about this, and adults, you know, if a kid, I'm trying to think, okay, so for example, if, you know, talking about if my wife and I have kids, we're going to have biracial kids. I'm white and my wife is black.
Mhm.
So my kids are going to be half white, half black. Do they have white privilege? Do they have black privilege? I mean, what kind of privilege do they have? I mean, and
Mhm.
I'm certainly not going to teach them that, oh, you know, uh, I can't even think of an example. No, I mean, you know, I'm going to teach them that just what I was saying to you guys, like, treat everybody with
Mhm.
respect, and, you know, give them the benefit of the doubt. If somebody treats you bad, don't assume it's racism. It might very well be. Don't assume it
Mhm.
is. It might be something else. But yeah, it's just, it's, you know, again, I don't know how old these kids are, but I don't know why, you know, you're trying to
Yeah.
divide these kids. I just don't get it.
Isn't it also sort of like ingraining like a mentality of like these people are good and these people are bad? Isn't that sort of like
That's what it
what
sounds
they're
like.
doing it? I mean, it sounds like that, right?
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah,
You know, yeah.
it's, I just worry because I mean, I think LA is probably gonna drink the Kool-Aid with this, and they're just gonna go full steam ahead with it. I don't know if where you're at. Do you think that at least on like a parent uh, level, like, are they gonna at least check the teachers from this? Because yeah, I'm not sure about LA.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about LA and the thing about major metropolitan places that are very diverse racially are
Mhm.
still very segregated.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, don't pretend that just because you have, you know, a lot of races living together, that they're actually living together.
Mhm.
You know, as far as where I'm at, you know, where I live is very white. You know, to the point where it's like, you know, sometimes it's a little jarring. If I go over, if I go to the other side of the highway and I go over to Costa Mesa, there's more, you know, racial diversity. Um, but yeah, I mean, as far as the schools and whatnot, again, it's something that I haven't really thought about.
Mhm.
My gut is telling me that they're not going to let it stand where I live now,
Mhm.
but who knows where I'm going to live in 5 years, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Uh, how long have we been going on? For about an hour?
We started about 6:30, right? I think, or
Yeah.
or 6:40 maybe about.
Yeah.
It's an hour and a half.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on there.
I guess let's just kind of finish up with like,
Lose me again?
huh? Oh no, we got you. Where do you, I guess, stand on like with regards to mask and vaccines, just generally? Because I mean, there's word that they're trying to make it mandatory for state workers.
Sure.
Like, what do you think that's gonna cause? Like any backlash?
I absolutely think there's going to be backlash. If you guys have been looking at what's happening in France and Italy and Australia,
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to impose vaccine passports. And there's protests in the street every day, and there's clashes with the police every day, and there's people beat up by the police every day. I don't see that going away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as far as vaccines, I am 100% a your body, your choice person.
Mhm.
You know, it's none of my business if you've been vaccinated, and it's none of your business if I've been vaccinated. That's
Mhm.
between me and my doctor. And I think it's extremely creepy that people are trying to use peer pressure and bullying to try to get people to take a vaccine
Mhm.
where you have no idea what their medical history is like. Maybe they should take a vaccine. Maybe they shouldn't. How the hell do you know that? You don't. So I'm 100% a your body, your choice, you know, person. The masks I think are silly, quite frankly. I don't think that they do anything, but maybe they do. I'm not an expert. That's just my kind of gut feel. I mean, I don't, you know, like I was saying before we went live. I mean, I when everything started, I mean, some people wearing masks, some people weren't, even with the mandate. And
Mhm.
typically, what it would be is people would put it on to go into the store and then rip it off as soon as they left.
Yeah.
So, you know, to me, that doesn't sound like people believe that they work. And again, who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but again, your body, your choice. If you want to go around wearing a mask, then be my guest. That's your decision. If you think it helps, then that's fine. Would I have a problem with this mandates and, you know, especially any kind of like vaccine passport if they're talking about that?
Yeah.
I know they've brought it up in the I posted recently you know, one of those protests in France saying if they try to do that here, picture this but with a lot more guns. And that's kind of the idea. You know, that's what you're going to be looking at, and I think it's a very bad idea.
Yeah.
You know, just as far as like public safety and public peace, I think it's a very bad idea. And
Yeah.
you know, people are already fed up with the government. People are already distrustful of the CDC. And
Uh-oh.
Dun, 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 dun.
Let's see if he comes back.
Oh no.
Oh man. I
Hey, oh, there you go.
think
He's
we
back. I
got you.
think. I can see him blink. Okay.
do you see me?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, but I just I do I think in LA especially, I think it's just going to lead to like way more layoffs in
Oh, yeah.
some form or fashion. And I just I'm not sure if people here in LA realize the severity of it. Um, they're a little. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. So I know that LA County just reinstated a mask mandate for indoors. Are you seeing people putting them back on or not in general? I mean, I know it's going to be different, but
I mean, I still see people driving with masks,
yeah.
jogging with
Yeah.
masks.
Well, Hollywood is so crazy. Like when I was there, like I actually like you would see like people with four people in the car with masks, all four of them wearing a mask. So
Yeah.
creepy, yeah.
I wonder if that was an Uber or something.
I don't know, maybe.
Because I know Uber and Lyft and all them are mandating that their drivers, you know,
Okay,
wear
maybe.
masks and the passengers do. So that might have been it. But you know, I was just in Las Vegas recently, and I took you know, an Uber a couple of times, and I just asked. I was like, "Listen, I'm not wearing a mask. Is that okay?" He goes, "Yeah, that's fine."
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
you
Well,
know,
the one thing that I've noticed, like on my side, like, is I'm in LA County, but I'm a little bit more like northeast where I live at, and yeah, the mask mandate is back. But like when I've gone to like the store, like Food for Less and what's other store, Stater Brothers, it
Mhm.
seems that they're not cracking on people as much as they were like in the beginning. Because like in the very beginning,
yeah,
if you didn't have like a mask, I remember this one guy, the security guy, would like chase me around. I was like, I would try and walk like really fast, like I'm not gonna wear a mask, and then
yeah,
the guy would catch up to me like, here, you need to wear this mask. I'm like, oh, okay.
yeah,
But
Yeah.
now, like the last couple of times that I've gone to the market, like most, like 99% of the people are wearing a mask. I'm like the only one not wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And I've seen like every now and then, like you see people here and there like not wearing a mask. So they have signs they're supposed to wear masks, but I
Right.
don't think they're cracking on people as much as they used to in the very beginning. So I don't know if there's something going on where people can something that maybe there's something that people don't know, where maybe people there's like a exemption that they can prove, or they can say like I have like a medical condition, like, or it's
Oh
more
yeah,
people have been complaining, or maybe people have even sued, but maybe we're just not hearing about it
right.
because the media is suppressing it. But I think
Sure.
there's something there where they're acting like they're supposed to like bring it back, but they're not
Yeah,
really cracking. Well, so far, they haven't
Yeah.
like
right.
chased me, even though I wasn't wearing a mask. So
Well, the
we'll see.
sheriff of LA said he wasn't going to enforce it.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, that's the other
Yeah.
thing that I heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So I mean, if they're not going to enforce it, then you know you're just saying stuff. You know,
Yeah.
um, yeah. If there's no teeth behind it, then who cares?
I just wonder when it's going to end in LA, or if it ever
yeah.
is.
Well, you know, like the other thing too, I don't know if it's like important or not, but like the other thing that I noticed is that like driving through like all these like LA, Orange, Riverside, and San Bernardino County, is that some of the more richer areas, it seems that less people are wearing the mask, versus like the more
Mhm.
poorer areas,
Yeah.
more people are like masked up. So I don't know if it's
I
that
think.
sort of elite privilege or what, but like it seems
Yeah.
that yeah, like people that tend to earn more money, like they don't want to wear a mask. They don't want to like they're not as, I guess, docile
Yeah.
and submissive as some of these people that maybe earn less. So I don't. I just thought it was interesting because I like looking at patterns, and I've noticed
Yeah.
like some of the richer areas, like they don't care. They don't want to wear a mask.
I think you're onto something.
Yeah.
I think it might be like a. I don't mean this in a bad way, but like maybe like a education issue, or
Yeah.
like an intelligence issue. I think that might be part of it. Because in LA, like the ghetto areas, a lot of Mexican people,
Not as not as
and
informed. Yeah.
but they're just like mass the fuck up, and nicer areas people don't really care as much.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it, it's sort of becoming like a way to like control like the lower class.
Yeah, it's like I think they're what's the thing? They're studying everybody at the same time. Like me not wearing a mask sort of like was a concern too for me, because I know that I'm being recorded, and they're like, oh, this guy, this fucker, this guy is now wearing a mask. Like, we need to like keep a record, like a, I don't know. I guess that's.
Yeah.
I'm not trying. I have like an ego, but like, oh yeah, this guy's a badass. No, but like but like you kind of stand out, I guess.
Mhm.
And I think they're studying everybody, and they're trying to see like where they can get away with more. They're studying. I think they've always studied people, and that's why there's social media too, because they're trying to see like how people behave and like what people tend to influence other people.
Mhm.
Sure.
So it seems they're really. It's kind of sad. I think maybe with these vaccines, I think they are going to continue to have like adverse effects on more people. And I think it's all part of the social engineering, because they're not being transparent. That's the thing. The thing is that people should have a choice in
Mhm.
taking the vaccine, and people should have a choice in choosing. Like if they don't want to take the vaccine, but they would rather try these alternative medicines, they should also have the option to trying all these other medicines that people have mentioned before. And
But that doesn't line the pockets of big pharma.
and that's the thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like the thing that's going on. That's like the biggest extortion like one of the biggest. I mean, already with like like the whole riots, but like in the lockdowns, like that was like a big extortion of like big business.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
But like now with like mandatory vaccines, like whether you're a public or a private business, being able to make that mandatory onto your employees, and then the government providing it to you through the through our tax dollars. Like the hell is like
Yeah.
there's nothing else to call it but extortion. Is just okay.
Mhm.
The government's acting. Oh no, we're not. It's not up to us. It's up to like the private and like public businesses if they want to
Mhm.
make it mandatory.
Sure.
Yeah, but you're taking our money and you're providing them with the vaccine, and you're using our money. It's like you're extorting people. You're like like a
Well,
cartel.
Yeah.
Well, and then by the way, they'll say, "Oh, yeah, it's not us. It's the private businesses, requiring vaccines or whatever."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then behind the scenes, they're saying, "Oh, hey, if you want this federal grant, you better mandate that your employees
Yeah.
have."
Definitely.
So it's kind of like they're outsourcing the mandate, which is
Yeah.
still to me, it's
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, I'm glad I don't work for somebody.
you and
Yeah.
me both same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about at least like I work for full time for some like kind of corporation, and it's getting kind of intense. Like the whole COVID culture sort of like blending in with like the corporate world in a really strange way, and it almost feels like a mask is sort of like becoming like that corporate part of that corporate uniform of like slacks, a white button up shirt, tie, but now it's like a mask.
It's
You
like
know what I
like a
mean?
submission like
Yeah, yeah,
article of clothes, like just like here. You're
yeah,
like
yeah,
a peasant. You're like a second class citizen. And that's
yeah,
what they're doing with like the people that are vaccinated and the people that are unvaccinated. If you're unvaccinated, you're gonna start being treated like a second-hand citizen where you can't
yeah,
travel, you can't work, you can't all this other stuff. Like even like and then like Foo Fighters and like 9 Inch Nails, like Foo Fighters at their concert, you can't like you have to be vaccinated to come to our concert. Dude,
Which
it's like
which they had to cancel because one of them got COVID.
yeah,
yeah.
Hear about that? So it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
absurd.
And a lot of
yeah,
these people too that have recently contracted COVID actually had the vaccine. So
yeah.
Yeah.
it seems that a lot more people that are getting vaccinated are getting COVID. So it's like, what the hell? It's like, I thought it was supposed to like protect you.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Michael Rappaport at the hard way. It doesn't.
Yeah.
yeah. You guys want to play that real quick, or
Yeah.
you guys? Yeah. Let's see.
The
pretty
super
funny.
spreader guy.
Where is this ass? Oh, this is.
I just watched Tony Fauci and CNN and Fox tell me that people with the vaccine, vaccinated people, are now spreading the coronavirus. A couple of weeks ago, a couple of days ago, I was yes, I'm vaccinated. Yeah, your little sticker. Yay, I'm vaccinated. Be a hero. Be vaccinated. I went from being a hero because I'm vaccinated, and now you motherfuckers are calling me a super spreader? I ain't no fucking super spreader. Figure this shit out.
I hope
Michael
this is his wake up call.
I
You
hope
know,
so, but
Well, like-
Dr. Fauci is a liar. I mean, he's
Yeah.
admitted it
Mhm.
at least 3 times that he lied to the American people on record.
yeah,
Why anyone is still listening to him is beyond me. I mean, and then CNN, Fox News, and all that's just corporate nonsense.
Well, that,
Stop listening to these people.
exactly. And that last comment that he made too was like, figure it out. Like that's very telling. I'm like, that lets me know that he has like no accountability for like his own health.
Yeah,
Right.
It's like you say like, oh, what
Yeah.
like I'm gonna do whatever government tells me.
Right.
Yeah.
You figured out
Like,
for me.
question,
You do
figure
your
out for me.
thinking for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you do exactly. You do the thinking for me. It's like just what it's like. Yeah, whoever's listening to this guy too is an idiot. An idiot, man. I swear.
I get the one silver lining for this whole COVID thing. Well, it kind of deals with this Michael Rappaport is like how kind of realistically like irrelevant celebrities kind of actually are.
Oh
Just
yeah.
listening to them, like the shit they have to offer, like they're like these empty vessels, and it's just great to see like that whole image just kind of collapse. That's like the one enjoyment I've had throughout this COVID thing.
Well, the whole narrative is falling apart. It's
Yeah.
beautiful to watch. Beautiful.
Yeah, you're sort of seeing like the left kind of like go to like this confused identity crisis thing going on where like they're realizing that like they might be wrong on something, but they don't want to like look into what, so they're just like going more and more into like their shell of whatever their ideology is. It's bizarre to watch.
Well, people who have a blind trust for authority, regardless of if they're left wing or right wing, have had a wake up call, because if they're telling you something today and then tomorrow they tell you the exact opposite, which one are you going to believe? Are you just going to keep believing what they say even though it's proven that they lied to you?
Yeah.
And again, I'll use the Dr. Fauci example. He admitted that he lied about his opinion on masks. He lied about his opinion on herd immunity. And there's one other incident that I forget that he lied about, but it's at least 3 times. And it's not like I'm just accusing him. He said, yeah, I told you this because I didn't think you were ready to know it. So it's like, okay, well, are you lying now? Were you lying then, and now are you telling the truth, or what is it? But yeah, I mean, the fact that these people have just lost all credibility to most people, I think is wonderful. I think people don't, some people still are, but a lot of people, because I talk to everybody. I talk to left, right, whatever, all kinds of jobs. I talk to doctors and nurses that are like, yeah, this whole thing is nonsense. Like I have a nurse friend from high school. She's like, yeah, this is nonsense, and I have to speak out against it. And I'm not saying she's right or wrong. I'm just saying they're pretending that everyone in the medical field agrees, and that's just not true.
Someone close to me works at the Veterans Hospital, the VA, and he was telling me that like one of the COVID centers or the areas that they have the COVID patients, like they've always been relatively empty, but for like what do you call it, like photo op reasons, they would just get like whatever patients they had and just put them by the entrance so that it looked good for the photo op. Like he would get this from people that actually work there.
I mean, how is that not a lie?
Yeah.
Like if you're faking an image, and we're artists, we can talk about that. Like, yeah, that's part of what we do, is we have an image that we want to show to our audience, and photography is no different. You can fake that. So I don't know, man. But yeah, it's very exciting to see the narrative collapse. And the scary part is now they're done with the whole carrot and the stick. It's if you get the vaccine, if you be an obedient, good little citizen, we'll give you a carrot. And most people are like, no thanks. So now I'm afraid that the stick's coming. Yeah. But we'll see. It's yet to be seen. But hopefully enough people are like, hey, this is not okay. And this is, I've said for a long time when I talk to people, because there are certain people that say, hey, we'll just do the next thing and this will be done and it'll be over. And I said, no, that's exactly wrong. The more you obey, the more stuff they're going to make you try to do, because you've shown that you're not willing to think critically. and
Yeah.
you're just going along with whatever they tell you. And I'm not saying that everything they tell you is wrong. I'm not saying that either. It's, just as you shouldn't just blindly disobey authority, you shouldn't blindly obey it or blindly disobey it. Just
Yeah.
use your head,
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right. I guess we can start kind of finishing up.
all right.
I guess I don't know how you want to finish. I guess you have any other questions, Benevolent?
No, no, I think like if I ask any question, I think we're just gonna keep going for like another half hour or so. So I think we just need to like
Just stop
wrap
it.
it up. Just yeah.
All right.
Well, it was very nice talking to you guys.
Oh, thanks. I mean, you're always welcome to come back on.
Yeah, I'd love
This is
to.
fun. Maybe
Yeah, like-
I'm trying to get more production to the show within the next month or so. So it won't just be a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, also like if you know anybody that might be interested that is an artist or not, it doesn't even have to be like an artist, right? Like it could be just anybody that would want like share like their thoughts on what it is that we're talking about. I think that would be a good thing just to showcase that here.
Yeah, I'll ask around.
Well, I believe your wife's also an artist too, right?
She is, yeah. Her artwork hanging on the wall behind me, some of it.
Oh, cool. Do you
So-
think she'd be interested to maybe be on the show, or?
I'll certainly ask her.
Oh, cool. I mean, if you both guys want to be on, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool. I'll ask her.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So,
All right,
no promises, but I'll ask her for sure. But
Yeah.
regardless, I would love to sit with you guys again. This was fun.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Hopefully next time will be a larger crowd. The other people can be on, but
Yeah, hopefully.
it happens.
No, it's all good. For me, it's just like a good outlet too, just because I have a hard time to like. I know just about. Actually, I don't think I can talk to anybody else about that.
Yeah.
If I bring anything remotely related to politics, people get pissed off. Even like some of my closest friends, like I can't, like there's no release for me like anywhere else but here.
Yeah,
So this is kind of good for me too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. I guess I'll wrap it up here. I'm your host and your Filth with Benevolent Asshole and our guest Steve Rampton. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.